Hi everyone, it's Betty. I'm back and we are going to make some really delicious ooey brownies. You know, I've spent years trying to find the perfect recipe for brownies. Often you find them they're really cakey or they're too dense, and finding that perfect brownie. I'm going to be honest, for a long time, I was actually using a package, the Ghirardelli brownie package, because they were the best that I could find and I could never replicate it until I got this recipe. And it actually is pretty simple. I have a friend who says, I say everything is simple, but there's not a whole lot to this, okay? I promise you. Let's go through what we need as far as ingredients. We need 1 cup of butter, and I cut it up. I've got it ready to go here, right in there. And I have it on a double boiler. So I'm going to just grab my little camera and show you right there. And it's in the pot. There you go. You just want to make sure that the bottom of the bowl isn't touching the water. So I just have a little bit there. It doesn't take too long to get that melted. You also need 8 ounces of chocolate. I have that right here. I've already weighed it and broken up the pieces a little. If you have one of those big bars, what I would actually recommend, and that's why I have it in the plastic wrap, I put it in plastic wrap and I use my little mallet to chop it up, just because you don't need it to be fine. You just need it to not be in a big block. So that's what I did to these. So they're ready to go. Then that's going to start in this bowl here, okay, in the double boiler. There you go. And then on this side, I've got another bowl that is empty. And in there, we're going to do, that's the main bowl. So this one needs to be larger. All right, this is the one where you're going to make the batter. This will end up getting poured into here. You get that. All right, so from there, we need 4 eggs. We're going to need a little bit of salt, a teaspoon of salt, a cup of brown sugar, a cup of regular sugar, 1 cup of flour. Now, this is, I can do this recipe. I actually did it in Europe last year. It's not a Europe, Europeans don't do brownies, but I was in Europe a couple of years ago. I shouldn't say last year because we couldn't go anywhere last year. A couple of years ago, and I actually made this in my cousin's kitchen. And I'm like, okay, you have to try these. And because it's a 1 cup of everything, 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of regular sugar, 1 cup of flour. Really easy. Now, I also have that's the basic recipe, okay? Then you can do add-ons. So you can add nuts. I love my walnuts. So I have a cup of chopped walnuts here. Some chocolate chips, make it extra chocolatey and gooey. I also do something else that's very special, and this is not necessary, but I actually think it gives a depth of flavor, gives that a hint of coffee. I do a 1/4 cup of Kahlua. All right, so that's that. If you're going to do that, this 1 cup of flour will need 3 extra tablespoons of flour just to be able to absorb this. Otherwise, you'll have a slushy mess. Just as an FYI, it'll all be in the instructions below, promise. And let's get started. So I'm going to turn my double boiler on and start melting this chocolate. Okay, and I put that on a medium heat. All right, so medium heat. Let me just see if you can get this. Yeah, there we go. And we're just going to wait for that to melt a bit. Shouldn't take too long. All right, you want to do it gently. You don't want to burn your butter. And as it starts to melt, we're going to add our chocolate in, okay? And give that a good stir so it's totally incorporated. And we'll then get started. When that's done, then I'll get started on the eggs and sugar and all that other yummy good stuff, because we need to give this a few minutes to cool. All right, doesn't take long, but just so that you don't cook the eggs when you stir it in, so you don't want to do it super hot. All right, so we're going to let that butter melt, and I will be right back to show you at what point we're going to be adding the chocolate. So while that's melting, it's a good time to also grab your 9 by 13 pan and get that prepared. I always cut a piece of parchment paper to fit the bottom, and then I butter the sides. So it will, I've already got it all set, and that's what it looks like. There's parchment paper here. You can hear it. The sides have been buttered, and it helps keep the parchment paper down, and that is ready to go. So if you want to get that ready, it doesn't have to be a fancy 9 by 13 baking pan like this, any 9 by 13, but I figured I'd use this one because it is actually quite pretty, and it's what I actually normally use for my brownies. So get that prepared. I don't preheat the oven till this is done, and till the butter is melted and I have the chocolate in there, because otherwise it's going to just sit there. My oven actually preheats pretty quickly, so you gauge how long it takes for your oven to heat up, but it should be ready. Once I got this melted and I'm letting it sit for a couple minutes, turn the oven on. By the time we get all of this mixed together and ready to go, it should be just hitting the right temperature. Okay, and so we're just still waiting for this. It's starting to melt, and it'll take a couple more minutes because I don't have it on super high, doing it slowly on medium, on a medium heat, and we'll be right back with when we're adding the chocolate. I just forgot to mention the pan you're going to do it in, 9 by 13 inch pan that you have, and grease and flour it. If you don't have parchment paper, just grease the whole thing so it doesn't stick. I love my parchment paper. You'll see anytime we do baking, I've always got it on hand because it does make for easy cleanup too. Just so you know, it doesn't stick and easy cleanup, and who doesn't love that? All right, back in a couple. Okay, butter looks like it's done. Well, not done, but ready for me to add. Let me just see if I can. You can still see the tabs there. And we're just going to throw this chocolate all in there. And I wish I had another hand since I'm holding the camera. So much fun to do this all on your own. Be cameraman, cook, everything. Can make things a little challenging. We just lost a piece of chocolate. I'll try to fish that out before it completely melts. Pop this all in here. Okay. Now, there we go. There we go. So then we give that a stir. Once the butter looks like it's completely melted, we're going to turn the stove off. And it does look like we've got, at that point, just a couple pieces of butter left. We can turn the heat off. I'm going to just turn the oven off. So turn the flame off of that. And you can see, just stir it up. You get the chocolate nicely melted through here. Some of the bigger chunks will take a little bit, but you just stir it till you know you've got all the chocolate melted. And then once you have, you're just going to put it aside and let it cool for, probably no more than 5 or 6 minutes. Because it will cool relatively quickly. And we're almost there. It just got one piece left, just, lifting things up to the top. See where we're at. Oh, it smells good. You can smell the chocolate. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, because wow, if you love chocolate, and I do, you would love this. All right, so what kind of chocolate? I didn't mention that. That is all dependent on your taste. You can use bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate. You can use dark chocolate. I would not recommend milk chocolate, only because it would be really, really, really sweet. It would be like overkill sweet. But if you do like overkill sweet, I would still say not to use that, but maybe use some You can do the chocolate chips. If you want to add chocolate chips to it, you can do those in the milk chocolate. But you want to at least semi-sweet, bittersweet, or dark, okay? And again, that's dependent on your taste. And there we go. That's done. Now we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes. We're gonna take it off this pot and just grab my, oh, sorry if I'm not making anybody sick here with, I'm just trying to get a good angle. It's hard to see. Anyways, I'm just gonna take this off of the double boiler. You can see there. Just set it aside and give it 5-6 minutes. And then we're going to start the next bowl and get things ready for that. See you in a minute. Okay, so I have let that the chocolate sit. I can actually touch the sides now, so it's fine. And that means we can get started with the rest of the mixture. Let me actually move this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to move this down so you can actually see what I am doing. So what I have done is I have put 4 eggs. You're gonna whisk those up. In here, you're gonna add the 1 teaspoon of salt, okay? I get my teaspoon measure. Boop. Your 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. I use organic. Want to mix. We're going to whisk that all in. And your brown sugar. All this just gets popped in and you whisk it. Get all that in there. You want to whisk this until you get all of the brown sugar lumps out. All right. Need to, crush them down a little bit. And keep mixing. If you are not going to use the Kahlua, then at this point you could also add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, okay? Just so you are aware. We don't need it because we have the Kahlua going in. And I just want all of these lumps out first. See them as they pop up. Just give them a good smash down, and they'll be less and less as you go. If they're very persistent in the lumps, I just grab a fork and smash them down with that, because that'll break it up a little quicker. And hey, since we're recording this and I don't bore the crap out of you guys, we'll use the fork just to get those lumps out. And if you don't have brown sugar in your pantry, no problem. As long as you have regular sugar and some molasses, that's all it takes. And what I do is I measure out my sugar that I need for my recipe and just start adding the molasses a little at a time until it gets to the color and consistency you want. And you give it a good mix. And that's really all it takes to make your own brown sugar. I know, super easy, right? I'm just gonna pop that in there. Let's take a look. Oh, it looks much better. We've got a couple of lumps here, but I'll just grab that. I think we got them all. Beautiful. Get that out of there. Just gonna do a quick check. You can see. Perfect. And now because I'm not adding the vanilla, I'm doing the Kahlua. I'm gonna add that in now. You just pour that in. That was 1/4 cup. You can also make bourbon brownies, and you can just 1/4 cup of bourbon. which I have actually done. I'm going to be honest, I've done both. I prefer the Kahlua, but that's just personal taste. And you just give that a good, oh my gosh, it smells so good. Mix that in here. Just so you know, I did put my oven on to preheat just before I hit record again. So that is heating in the background. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just slowly, I'm just going to, the spatula, I will need it to scrape the sides. I'm just going to put that in that bowl there. And you pour this in. You want to actually continue to whisk it in. I'm just going to put it against my body. That's what I normally do. No mixer needed for this recipe. It's fantastic. Really not too much as far as fancy equipment or anything. You just add all this chocolate in. You can see it turning. It is beautiful brown color. There we go. And then I'll just use my spatula to get all the chocolate and butter out of this bowl and pour it in. There we go. Nice and clean. I can pop that in the sink. We're going to give this a good mix up again. Make sure it's all nicely incorporated in there. Look how gorgeous that looks, right? It's all, it's actually quite a thick batter. It's good exercise for your arms. All right, so I don't need the whisk anymore. We're going to just switch to a spatula. And I'm just going to grab one from here. Okay. And we add our flour. This is the 1 cup because I added the Kahlua. I need 3 extra tablespoons, remember? So I have my flour here. 1, 2, 3. Put that away. That's why I kept this right behind me. And we get our spatula. We start bringing that all together. Now, once you've got this somewhat mixed up, it's when you're going to add your whatever you're going to add. If you're going to, you don't need to add anything. This will be delicious, just chocolate Kahlua brownies, or if you decided not to go with the Kahlua, just regular brownies. It's getting fairly well incorporated in there. So this is a great time to add my chocolate chips and my toasted walnuts. And now we just keep mixing this in because, again, you don't want to overmix these types of batters. So that's why I add them in before the flour is fully incorporated, because you're going to have to stir these in to make sure all your add-ins that they're in there. Now, you don't have to just add chocolate chips. If you want to add peanut butter chips, if you want to have that peanut butter flavor, or white chocolate, whatever you like in there. Throw some Smarties in if that's your thing. Whatever works for you. Okay, there's your batter. Now I'm going to move these bowls out of the way. We're going to pour it right into, I mean, that's it. It's done. It is done. Super quick and easy, right? Once you've got the butter and the chocolate melted, it takes no time at all. And like I said, my oven actually does heat up pretty quickly. Let me just pour this right into my pan. And I'm going to just put this more in the center so you can see it. Pour that in. I'm going to scrape the sides down. You don't want to leave any behind. All right, so you want to get a good rubber spatula to get all this stuff off the sides, the bottom, and in your pan. There we go, nice and clean. So I pour that in here, get all of the, and just make sure it's, I'll move it right to make sure that it's all the way in all the corners. Looks fantastic. And my oven is just about to beep. I've got a little cloth here. I got a little chocolate on the side over here. Just clean that up so it doesn't burn on. Boom. All right, ready to pop in the oven. Now this does take a while to bake. It's roughly about 50-55 minutes, depending on your oven. Check it. Just like most things, you stick a toothpick in, see if it comes out clean, and then you take it out. But I always set my timer for the least amount of time, and then I can check it. And then if it needs the extra minutes, that way you make sure you don't overbake it. Okay, so we're gonna pop this in my preheated oven to 350 and let it bake for that 50 minutes, and we'll check on it. All right, back soon. Hey guys, it took about 45 minutes. I made a mistake, sorry, because it was, the other day I was making banana bread, and that takes almost an hour. This, on the other hand, takes 45 to 50 minutes. So check it at 45. Sorry about that. So just a correction there, but it's out of the oven. I actually let it rest for about 5-10 minutes. It's still super hot, but looks amazing. Let's see if we can get this. There you go. Let me just get my oven mitts, and you can see it there. Now remember, I did grease this and a parchment paper, but just to be on the safe side, I always just run a knife along the edge to make sure nothing sticks. And it doesn't look like it did. It's all pulling back very nicely. All right, and let's give these, let me grab a plate here and put them on somewhere you can see it. Let's move this a little over, put the plate closer to me here. Oh, nothing like hot brownies. These are super duper rich. You do not need to have big pieces because they are super rich. And just crumbled a little bit, but you can see it there. You can tell it's still really gooey. You can see the walnuts in there. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's super hot. Let's give them a try. Shall we? Take a look at that. First piece always crumbles a little bit, you know, when you're taking stuff out of a pan like this, but you're just gonna pull it apart. And look at that. Yum. Oh, it's hot. So good. These are really good. I recommend you let them cool a little longer. Burning my mouth a little bit, but delicious brownies. Give them a try. As you can see, it really doesn't take a whole lot. The recipe will be down below for you to follow, and let me know what you think. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.